For years, humans have been grappling with the question of who deserves rights and responsibilities. Even to this day, humans are still fighting.
The University of Georgia wasn't always diverse as we see today.
If it weren't for Charlotte and Hunter Galt and Hamilton Holmes, the first two black students to attend University of Georgia, it would have stayed the same.
The two worked together and united together to register at the University of Georgia to fight against pro-segregation protests and public education.
As I look back on it now, it wasn't as bad as it seemed at the time, and I think certainly that if I had to, do that over again, that I wouldn't hesitate.
Hunter Galt was a courageous woman who wasn't afraid to speak out on her experiences as the first black woman to attend UGA.
I'm not sure that I knew what was ahead when I decided to do it, that there would be hardship or indignities. I think that was part of what got both Hamilton Holmes, who was the other black student who went in with me, and I through. We just didn't anticipate the worst. We anticipated a normal thing. Now, that was, a little silly, perhaps, in retrospect, but we were 19 years old and idealistic.
Many attempts were made to remove Hunter Galt and Holmes from the institution, including the White Mobs riot. A mob of anti-black white students crowded their dorms, rioting with hate speech, until Hunter Galt and Holmes were eventually forced to withdraw and go home. However, this wouldn't be the end of their story. Just days later, they were readmitted, and in 1963, they became the first black undergraduates to graduate from the University of Georgia. The building that they stepped into was named after them as the first black students to attend UGA and pay tribute to all of their accomplishments. Hunter Galt and Holmes endured so many trials. Their perseverance changed UGA, paving the way for many new students to come. However, they weren't the only ones.
Growing up in Athens, this is in the 1950s and 60s, pretty much. I graduated in 1969. Our community was the Brooklyn community. I had the wonderful privilege of having a very loving community to grow up in. In our world was our church world, and our church was our community. And so that's how we got to know each other.
Growing up in Athens, Georgia, around the year of '63, was through an experience dealing with segregation and integration. This time was a pretty big change for every part of the black community.
We want and solicit the support of everybody.
Many of the community before wanted to use their rights and help, but it was always complicated in a way. The register told Diallo, who grew up in Athens watching UGA from the segregated outside, that she wouldn't graduate.
I had some professors who were very nice to me, but I also had some professors who were not very kind to me. I wanted to ask a question, and I kept raising my hand, but he wouldn't recognize me. And finally, he recognized me and said, "What's wrong with you? You need to go to the bathroom. If so, go." And I was just mortified. I was just so hurt. It was a very, very difficult experience, and I graduated, but I was extremely bitter for many, many years.
Everyone has the right to be treated with respect,
but not everybody saw this as their responsibility.
And so even though people weren't openly hostile toward you, you felt the hostile environment. And it came across in the way teachers spoke with you or not failed to speak to you. The lack of nurture that I experienced going into the white schools was really difficult for me because I'm a very soft-hearted person. I think that I came to the conclusion after one of these interviews when I moved back here that the sad truth is that we were invisible for the most part, and we were expected to stay invisible. It seemed like that was the expectation.
Around the year 1865, official segregation came into the form of black codes. It affected the way the black community worked, transported, learned, and mostly lived. Since then, they never got the chance to gain freedom and educational rights for public schools. One example of the struggle is at the local Athens Stockade.
The old Athens Stockade is a historical landmark where white leaders would send black protesters against segregation at the varsity. It was a city jail, but it is now transformed into a significant place with an evolving identity that has a purpose for sharing a part of history.
In 1954, the Brown versus Board education case was settled and passed, and public schools started to integrate. People were starting to blend in with the new environment happening, and a lot of changes occurred. Activist Beverly Benson Long became involved in the fight to desegregate the public school system in Athens, Georgia. She attended UGA and graduated with a bachelor's degree in science. She was also part of a group in both Atlanta and Athens who formed chapters of hope to keep public schools open. Everybody mentioned today were extremely brave, people who took a blind step into the unknown, not knowing if they could make a difference.
Yet they did, differences that would have an everlasting effect on our daily lives. Going back to Hunter Galton Holmes, through all their hardships, they fought to pursue their dreams and never gave up, and even graduated with a message to have the right to keep going for that dream. It was their right to obtain a public education, just like everybody else. It is the responsibilities of the people to make sure these never go away.